Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the people of Jannah turning to each other and asking questions. وَأَقْبَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. People of paradise turn to each other, asking questions, reflecting, talking about what? They're talking about this life right here. So in one of these scenarios in Surah Al-Tur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about a particular discussion. قَالُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا قَبْلُ فِي أَهْلِنَا مُشْفِقِينَ. They will say to each other, before this, before Jannah, we used to be in a state of awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or some fear as well of the afterlife, with one another in the midst of our families or our people. فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَوَقَانَا عَذَابَ السَّمُومِ. So Allah graced us and protected us from the torment of the fire. إِنَّا كُنَّا مِن قَبْلُ نَدْعُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْبَرُّ الرَّحِيمُ. We used to make dua and call upon Allah alone in the previous life. And truly He is the most kind, the most merciful. Our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she one time was witnessed by her nephew. He came to say salam to her. She was witnessed making dua using this ayah over and over and over, and she was repeating these ayat and crying. He went to the marketplace. He came back and she was still reciting this. فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَوَقَانَا عَذَابَ السَّمُومِ. That Allah saved us and He protected us from the punishment of the heat of the afterlife. So when you think about that scenario, you're connecting to an ayah of the Quran. And you realize that memories evoke sadness. Sometimes you realize there's renewed joy. Sometimes you recognize there's obedience to Allah through that memory. But at the end of the day, perhaps, remember this, some of the gatherings of this world today are going to be memories you talk about tomorrow. These are going to be the reflections that people in Jannah will talk about. Do you remember when we went to the Islamic school together? Do you remember when we just met for a conference, just one time? Do you remember that person that interacted with you and the only times you met were in good gatherings? Do you remember when we used to make dua as a community? Do you remember every Ramadan the dua you used to make in the last 10 nights? Do you remember? And so at the end of the day, the people of Jannah are reflecting, and their reflections on the acts of worship are ones of gratitude, not regret. You want to be someone who appreciates working hard. You want to be someone who looks back and says, I have no regrets. When I fell short, I came back to Allah. We used to call upon Him, they will say, and Allah is the most kind, the most merciful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us and grant us the highest levels of Jannah.